Hello everyone. Welcome to Law Simple and Pure. I'm your host Dr. Vaishali, and in today's lecture we are going to learn delegated legislation. Let us quickly go through the agenda of today's lecture. We'll cover introduction, then meaning and definition of delegated legislation, Indian Constitution and delegated legislation, theory of separation of powers and delegated legislation, reasons for growth of delegated legislation in India. We'll go through nature and scope of delegated legislation and then we'll conclude. This question can be asked for a long note or for a short note. Weightage can be 16 marks or 8 marks depending upon the situation. Please take notes from today's lecture or try to listen today's lecture for multiple times so that you will remember each and everything about this lecture and you can directly write this in your answer sheet because I am providing notes in today's lecture. Let us understand delegated legislation in a very simple way. First question, what is legislation? Legislation means law making. Okay, so function of law making is called legislation. Second question, which organ of state legislates or which organ of state makes laws? Answer is legislature makes laws. What is legislature? Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha plus President of India. Okay, that is called as a legislature. So in India, legislature makes laws and that work is called as legislation. Okay, now what is delegation? Delegation means giving power to someone else. So over here, legislature is giving the law making power to some other organ and it is called as delegated legislation. To whom lawmaking power will be delegated by legislature? To administrative authorities or to executive branch of the government, right? So when lawmaking work is delegated by legislature to some other organ of government, it is called as delegated legislation. Now you know what is delegated legislation in simple words. Now let us go through some definitions. According to Sir John Salmond, subordinate legislation is that which proceeds from any authority other than the sovereign power. So who has sovereign power to make law? Legislature has sovereign power to make law. Okay, and when legislature gives away that power to some other organ, it is called as delegated legislation or subordinate legislation. Justice P.B. Mukherjee also observed about delegated legislation that it was an expression which covered a multitude of confusion. He viewed it as an excuse for the legislature, a shield for executors, and a provocation to the constitutional jurists. So Justice P.B. Mukherjee, he criticized delegated legislation that it is an excuse for legislature because legislature is supposed to make law. Legislature is using excuse and giving that word power to executive, and then it becomes a shield for executor because it is not their usual work, and a provocation to the constitutional jurist because then jurists or judges, they have to verify whether the delegation is within powers or not. So this is the word delegated legislation as per Justice P.B. Mukherjee. According to MP Jain, this term can be used in two senses. Number one, exercise by subordinate agency or agency that is lower in rank to legislature delegated to it by the legislature. So it means authority which is lower than legislature, when that authority exercises a power of legislation, it is called as delegated legislation. And second, the subsidiary rules made by the subordinate authority in the execution of power bestowed on it by the legislature. So according to MP Jain, giving that power to legislate to some organ other than legislature is delegated legislation, and second, actual lawmaking by that organ is also called as delegated legislation. So delegated legislation is referred as subordinate, ancillary, administrative legislation or quasi legislation. So if there is a question, what is quasi legislation? It means it is delegated legislation. What is subordinate legislation? Again, it means delegated legislation. Ancillary or administrative legislation or executive legislation, again meaning it's same. It means delegated legislation only. Next important point is Indian Constitution and delegated legislation. Before covering this point, I would like to mention a point: theory of separation of powers and delegated legislation. We all know that in India we follow theory of separation of powers, right? Legislature makes laws, executive executes or enforces the laws, and judiciary interprets those laws, right? Delegated legislation. In delegated legislation, executive performs the function of legislature, and that's why basically delegated legislation is against the theory of separation of powers. Because of delegated legislation, theory of separation of powers is diluted to a great extent in India. So if there is a question, what is the relationship between delegated legislation and separation of powers, you can provide that delegated legislation goes against the theory of separation of powers. Okay, next thing, what is the relationship between Indian Constitution and delegated legislation? Whether it is provided under Indian Constitution or not. Let us first see some case law. In case of Arvinder Singh versus State of Punjab, it was provided by the judges that the complexities of modern administration are so bafflingly intricate and bristle with details, urgencies, difficulties, and need for flexibility that our massive legislature may not get off to a start if they must directly and comprehensively handle legislative business. Okay, so in case of Arvinder Singh versus State of Punjab, it was provided by judges that it is extremely impossible for legislature to legislate on each and every matter which is needed, and that's why delegated legislation is a necessity. In Ray Delhi laws, it was provided that power to legislate comes with power to delegate when necessary. Okay, under the Constitution of India, Article 245 and Article 246 provide that the legislative powers shall be discharged by the Parliament and state legislature. The delegation of legislative power was conceived to be inevitable, and therefore it was not prohibited in the Constitution. Again, Article 13, definition of law, which provides that law means and includes any ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification which is found in violation of fundamental rights would be void. So definition of law itself includes delegated legislation because order, bylaw, rule, regulation, ordinances are made by administrative authorities, right? And that work is given to them by legislature. So delegated legislation is not anti-constitutional, but it is there in Article 13 of the Constitution of India itself. Next important point is reasons for growth of delegated legislation. Now remember one thing. Reasons for growth of delegated legislations are also benefits of delegated legislation. Okay. So if there is a question on benefits of delegated legislation, answer should be the same. Okay. After this lecture, I'm going to cover each and every topic in administrative law. Not only administrative law, each and every law subject for LLB and LLM student. I'm going to publish some lectures for JMFC students and again for MPSC students and for Law Net and Law Entrance students as well. So please subscribe to my channel and get perfect knowledge of law. By getting knowledge from me, you can stand anywhere in the world. Okay, now what are the reasons for growth of administrative law in India? Number one, change in the nature of state. The traditional theory of laissez-faire has been given up by every state, and the old police state has now become a welfare state. Because of the radical change in the philosophy as to the role played by the state, its functions have increased. In simple words, when we got independence, India was a police state because we were not in an economic position to be a welfare state. What is police state? Which maintains peace and order in society. But now we have adopted the policy of welfare state. In welfare state, state takes care of each and every function. Okay, sanitation is a responsibility of state. Education is a responsibility of state. Providing good parks is a responsibility of state. Providing good hospitals is a responsibility of state. So all-round welfare of citizens is a responsibility of state. Okay, and that's why functions of state increased, right? So state has to make law on sanitation, state has to make law on police department, state has to make law on electricity, state has to make law on schools. So state cannot do this. Legislature cannot legislate on each and every job which is there in a welfare state, and that's why administrative law came as a necessity. Second, Pressure upon parliamentary time. As a result of expanding horizons of state activity, the bulk of legislation is so great that it is not possible for the legislature to devote sufficient time to discuss all the matters in detail. Therefore, legislature formulates the general policy and empowers the executive to fill in the details by issuing necessary rules, regulation, bylaws, etc. In the words of Sir Cecil Carr, delegated legislation is a growing child called upon to relieve the parent of the strain of overwork and capable of attending to minor matters while the parent manages the main business. Example: your teacher is going out of the college for some days. She calls another teacher and tells her, please take care of my subject till I come back, but please do not give marks to the student because that is my job. I'll do it after coming back. This is called as delegation of work. Okay. Similarly, pressure on parliament has increased and parliament cannot legislate. So parliament just makes the main provisions or skeleton, and filling flesh and blood is the work of executive. So parliament provides just the skeleton, okay, and providing details, that job is given to executive. And that's why, because of pressure on parliament, we need delegated legislation in India. Third reason is technicality. We know that legislative process is extremely technical. Sometimes the subject matter on which legislation is required is so technical in nature that legislator, being himself a common man, cannot expected to appreciate and legislate on the same, and the assistance of experts may be required. Members of parliament may be the best politicians, but they are not experts to deal with highly technical matters which are required to be handled by experts. Here, the legislative power may be conferred on experts to deal with the technical problem. Example: gas, atomic energy, drugs, electricity. So legislators are good politicians, but they are not technicians. They have no knowledge of so many technical matters. Like in case of atomic energy, what are the consequences? What are the precautions to be taken care of? And in that case, they need to call experts. And administrative wing can help them by providing the experts, and that's why that job is given to administrative authorities in the form of delegated legislation. Number 4 is flexibility. At the time of passing any legislative enactment, it is impossible to foresee all the contingencies, and some provision is required to be made for these unforeseen situations demanding exigent action. A legislative amendment is a slow and cumbersome process, but by the device of delegated legislation, the executive can meet the situation expeditiously, means quickly. Example: bank rate, police regulation, export and import, foreign exchange. For that purpose, in many statutes, a removal of difficulty clause or Henry II clause is there, which is found empowering the administration overcome difficulties by exercising delegated powers. So we know that legislative process is not easy. We have to wait for next session, and legislature meets in only 3 sessions in a year. Okay, so over here executive or administrative authorities can come and help the legislature, and legislature can give them a job in the form of delegated legislation. Fifth reason for the growth of delegated legislation is scope for experiments. The practice of delegated legislation enables the executive to experiment. This method permits rapid utilization of experience and implementation of necessary changes in application of the provisions in the light of such experience. Example: in road traffic matters, an experiment may be conducted, and in light of the application, necessary changes could be made. For example, in a certain area, more police force is required during Ganpati or during Durga Puja. Executive take a quick decision. They can make experiment, they can employ more police in a certain area, and they can decide their rules. So, in case of executive lawmaking, there is a lot of scope for experiment because they can change the laws quickly in the light of those experiments. Legislature cannot change laws that quickly, and that's why delegated legislation allows application of past experience by giving a lot of scope for experiment. Number 6 is emergency. In time of emergency, quick action is required to be taken. The legislative process is not equipped to provide for urgent solution to meet the situation. Delegated legislation is the only convenient remedy. Therefore, in times of war and other national emergencies such as aggression, breakdown of law and order, strike, bandh, the executive is vested with special and extremely wide powers to deal with the situation. You all know ordinance making power. When emergency is ongoing, president can make laws or governors can make laws. Okay, this is delegated legislation only. There was substantial growth of delegated legislation during two world wars because of emergency. Similarly, in situation of epidemics, like right now corona pandemic is going on, floods, inflation, economic depression, immediate remedial actions are necessary which may not be possible by lengthy legislative process, and delegated legislation is the only convenient remedy. So in case of emergency, delegated legislation is necessary. Seventh reason for growth of administrative delegation or delegated legislation in India is complexity. The complexity of modern administration and the expansion of functions of the state to the economic and social sphere have rendered it necessary to resort to new forms of legislation and to give wide powers to various authorities on suitable occasions. By resorting to traditional legislative process, the entire object may be frustrated by vested interest, and goal of control and regulation over private trade and business may not be achieved at all. The practice of empowering the executive to make subordinate legislation within the prescribed sphere has evolved out of practical necessity and pragmatic needs of the modern welfare state. So modern welfare state is extremely complex. Affairs of a state are extremely complex, and legislature cannot legislate over each and every complex matter, and that's why delegated legislation is a necessity. Now you know reasons for the growth of delegated legislation in India. Remember, those are benefits of delegated legislation also. So flexibility, avoiding technicality, taking decisions in a rapid manner. These are all the benefits of delegated legislation. So what are the reasons for growth of delegated legislation are also benefits or utility of delegated legislation. So if there is a tricky question, do not forget your answer. Now, nature and scope of delegated legislation. Delegated legislation means legislation by authorities other than the legislature, the former acting on express delegated authority and power from a latter. So what is the scope? Delegated authorities, they have to act within their powers, right? So because legislature gives that power to executive, and executive is supposed to act within the power. So that is the scope of delegated legislation, acting within the powers. The delegation should not in any case be unguided and uncontrolled. Okay, so legislature always provide the guidelines for making delegated legislation and control as well. Parliament and state legislatures cannot abdicate the legislative powers in its essential aspects, which is to be exercised by them. So there are certain powers which are essential. So essential lawmaking function should not be delegated. Only the subordinate lawmaking function, okay, or feeling of the details, that work should be given to administrative authorities. It is only a non-essential legislative function that can be delegated, and the moot point always lies in the line of demarcation between the essential and non-essential legislative function. So essential legislative function must be done by the legislature, and other subordinate functions can be done by executive in this case. Let us conclude the chapter. Please write a nice conclusion. Do not include conclusion. So what is delegated legislation? When lawmaking job is done by the organ which is not legislature, or when the lawmaking power is given to some other organ by the legislature itself, when that lawmaking job is delegated, it is called as a delegated legislation. In India, it is delegated to executive. It is against the theory of separation of powers. Delegated legislation is constitutional. It is not against the Constitution of India. Now, necessity of delegated legislation. Now you know that pressure upon parliament, complexities, technicalities are all the reasons. So 7 reasons which I explained are the necessity of delegated legislation, or are the benefits of delegated legislation. Then what is the scope? Scope, power is given to administrative authorities by the legislature, so that authorities must behave within their limits. Essential legislative functions cannot be delegated. Non-essential legislative functions like filling the details can be delegated. So administrative authorities must act within their scope, and the moment they go beyond their scope, it is called as ultra vires, and that act can be taken care by judiciary. So in the next lecture, we are going to learn control of delegated legislation in India, how that delegated legislation is controlled by using the weapon of judicial review. Okay, so if there is a question on judicial review, answer is same. If there is a question on judicial control of administrative delegation, your answer should be the same. So that's it for the day. Stay tuned till my next lecture. Till then, goodbye and good luck.